Michael, thank you for being here. I appreciate you.
It's an absolute pleasure, as always.
Michael Gill, you are the CEO and director of Tulum Land and Property, a visionary, good friend of mine, right? And I admire you very, very much. From the beginnings here of Tulum. I know you've been here for 6 years already here in Tulum, and been building this empire of Tulum Land and Property. Has become an iconic brokerage here in Tulum. And very excited to have this interview with you because I know that there's a lot of good things happening, a lot of good things coming, with some exclusivities that you have, and you also becoming a developer here, shortly. So there's good news happening. And like I said, once again, thank you for taking this interview. And I just want to understand a little bit more about Michael Gill, a little bit about your past experiences and maybe things that led you to come to Tulum, and just give me a little bit about that.
Sure, my man. I wanted to express my gratitude for having me here today also, and also to express my admiration also for yourself, my friend. We've also been working together for some time, and I've seen you and how you operate, and it's exceptional, man. Your energy levels just never seem to run out.
Thank you, brother.
It's something that I can definitely say also is an excellent quality. So how did I get to where I am today, or what was my previous?
Your previous, where you come from, right?
Yeah.
I mean, as your childhood, maybe you want to elaborate a little bit about your childhood.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, so I was raised in North London, in an area called Finchley. It's not too far from Camden, which is quite a famous spot. Amy Winehouse used to hang out at, as well as many other people.
Did you know Amy Winehouse?
She lived down the road from me.
I know you're a rock star.
She went to the school that was actually connected to the school. It was a very close school to the school I went to. So
very cool.
I have a lot of friends in common with her, actually, as it goes, because we're similar ages as well.
Yeah.
Luckily, God bless her soul, because she was an exceptionally talented lady.
Very.
An exceptional figurehead for the British culture as well. So I was raised on in London, while London was, really quite prosperous for my childhood. It was a nice place to live. It was safer back then, especially in the early part of my childhood. But it wasn't a safe place to live, basically, So growing up, you have to kind of it's almost like the school of hard knocks growing up in London, to be honest. Because, you have to learn to always have one, sleep with one eye open, or have eyes on the back of your head sometimes, especially when you're in your adolescent years.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, London in particular, but the UK in general is renowned for music. I was fortunate enough to grow up around that. So music has always been a big part of my life. I trained classically in music from a very young age, and it's a big part. And then being from London and having access to such a rich culture of music, from all around the world. It's very fortunate to for a musician to grow up in that kind of environment. So you have to take the rough with the smooth, basically. You get the good, you got the pros and the cons. But I wouldn't want to change it. I wouldn't want to have grown up elsewhere. But at the same time, I have children myself now, and I would not want them to grow up in London. So
now let me ask you something. What are the values or the things that you could take out of that? Of that neighborhood or that childhood that you're bringing along,
Good question, actually. Yeah. So I actually have, not lived in London now for coming up to a decade. And I've experienced life in other cultures. I was in the USA for quite some time, in Chicago. I got quite familiar and understanding of that style of Western culture. It's a kind of different type of Western culture. What I can say is that from what I feel that I was of age in London where people were still trusting that their children could play out on the streets. Because of that,
good old days.
The good old days. So because of that, I was able to connect with people from all walks of life, as a child, you know. So I was playing a lot of sports, you know, tennis, hockey, you know, in the area. And I...
you were active.
I was quite active, and, you know, you never knew who would, you know, what background your people you were playing with were from, but it was nice that you got to culturally diverse, you know.
Cool,
and that really kind of gives you, you know, character, I think, to be honest, like to be exposed to that. And you don't see that in a lot of the West. I mean, you know, you do see it in Latin America quite a bit, you know, still, and that's why I feel like Latinos have a certain je ne sais quoi, which I like, you know. It's the that community. I think community has been lost a little bit in Western civilization. Here in Tulum, you know, you're asking how I bring that back, you know, it's like the community is there, you know, it's safe, you know. So I have 2 children, you know, my kids. I have a 5-year-old,
to Rio
turned 5 yesterday.
Cool, man.
Very happy boy, very happy dad as well.
Great kid,
you know, so that was a big deal for him, and for we had a great time. And I also have a 6-month-old, right? But 2 boys, and you know, here in Tulum, you know, it's safe. You know, people think, oh, Mexico, you know, Mexico's like dangerous. They see Narcos, they see all of these shows on TV, they watch the media, they think, oh my God, I'd never step foot there, or I wouldn't leave my resort, or whatever it is. Some people still think assumptions that people have. You know, and they couldn't be further from the truth. You know, really. You know, in especially in respect of Tulum. You know, because I walked around, you know, at all times of night. I've let my, you know, I go drive around on a bicycle with my children, you know, and everything, you know, I feel very safe at all times in any part. It doesn't matter if I'm, you know, what part of Tulum I'm in, you know, and this then, you know, creates a certain amount of, you know, a surety, I guess, you know, where people can feel a little bit like more relaxed, like, okay, there's a lot of nice families here. No one's here to kind of get one over on each other. Therefore, you know, my child, you know, can go out and they can play, and I'm sure that they're playing with nice kids. And you don't have to feel like you've got to protect your children. Therefore, your children get an authentic childhood, and you notice it in the kids here. You know, I'm very passionate about I really believe that Tulum and places like this, these kind of expat locations, you know.
Now, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I have to ask you this because I know this story.
Sure.
I think this is a great story.
Go on.
How you arrived to Tulum. This is an amazing story. You know, I think it was a pandemic. You were you stayed in the beach, like having the best pandemic ever.
Oh God, So now I can tell the story that much later. I wanted to keep that kind of
a secret.
No, it's okay now. I don't use you know, too much you know, social media, and you know, I haven't done for a while, but you know, I'm on it, you know, and but you know, there was a time. Well, let me go back and start the story. So actually, I used to be a musician, professional musician. I used to play out here for Diplomatic Records. They put on a couple of festivals out here in Playa del Carmen, and asked me to come out and play. And that was like a fringe kind of connection of the DPM festival, and it was good vibes. I had a great time. I came over, brought my friends over from London.
Cool.
That was our introduction to Mexico. You know, we were like in our early 20s, and you know, it was like it was like something just totally different. You know, we were used to go into, you know, places like Ibiza and Croatia, which are great, but they definitely were not as exotic for us, you know, basically. So this was like a real, you know, good time we had here. And later, after I came to Chicago, I also was DJing and making music over there, and came to play here with some other music partners later in life from Tide Records. Max Jacobson we came over and played over here. He's a very successful DJ from over there. Anywho, so I had many fond memories of this, you know, part of the Riviera. Basically, then there was I met my wife Ines, and we got married in Chicago. and had a wedding in Chicago, and it had another bigger wedding in the UK, in Scotland, in a beautiful castle called Saun Castle.
2 weddings, lucky
also,
woman.
Yeah, well, we had one which was more of a needed to happen. It was a technical wedding to tick the boxes. So and then we had one which was like a celebration of our marriage. Like a real wedding. And that was a beautiful. That was also at my dear friend Jenna. Kyle's hotel, her family put up my guests, and we had an absolutely amazing wedding over there. Together, staying in the hotel and having a ceremony in the castle, and had some very dear friends come over from all over the world and family, and it was just exceptional. But anyway, I won't go too deep into that. But so shortly after the wedding, COVID hit. And I was actually in Brazil with Ines at the time when it was started to come on the news, right? But it was just, we thought it was another SARS thing, so everyone did. We didn't think it was going to be, out of control. Maybe some people did, but we were pretty relaxed about it. And then next thing, Ines had to go to the US to change her passport name because it was in her old previous, name. And while that was happening, borders started to close. I was over in London in Southgate, which is actually where Amy Winehouse is from, funnily enough. But yeah, so I was over in Southgate at my friend's apartment, just looking after it for him. And then suddenly was like, okay, so, and I omitted a very important detail, which is that my wife was actually about 5 months pregnant at the time.
Okay, yeah.
So, wasn't an ideal situation to be separated from your pregnant wife due your first child. And so we had to start to get creative. And anyway, so it was fortunate, that we were able to enter Tulum. Had that not have been the case, we would have had we had very limited options anyway. Because it was but the politicians here and in Mexico had kept an open mind. They decided the show would go on. Obviously that's a very polarized topic, but it was advantageous to our situation, let's say. At least, and we ended up coming here, and it was like a ghost town. No tourists were here, and it was very it was still very. It was even more intense with the lockdown measures actually than it was in the UK, and the UK felt pretty intense. But so it was quite a little bit interesting that they were letting people in, but then when you came in, you had to be masked up on the street at all times. Like they weren't enforcing that kind of measure in the UK. But anyway, so eventually that kind of loosened up as they kind of started to realise that
it's like 3 months
things.
or 3 months. It was not that long here.
It wasn't that long.
Yeah,
People
it was like strong for like 3 months, and then it became open. So it was
to stay at a beautiful beach club, which we stayed there for about 6 weeks, and it was just heaven on earth. And that I'd gone from being in my friend's condo in London. In a council estate in Southgate, which I would just go, basically my own daily walk would be to go and buy supplies from the big supermarket, and then I'd come back, and while I was in the supermarket, you'd be like standing 10 meters away from everyone, and coming down here, and then suddenly next thing you're just on a paradise beach, and it's still the same lockdown, but I've just like, wow, I've just dodged the biggest bullet ever, and so that was it really was something, and
was that the start of something?
Well, that was actually,
It's like the pivot point, something that
I would say so,
cool.
because I think it was at that point. I think
you were working. Sorry to interrupt. But in the past, before leading up to that, what were you doing? Were you an artist, full-time artist at that time? Because I know you had multiple startups.
So
you also had multiple startups, businesses.
Correct.
You're a big marketer as well. You have like big experience in marketing.
So basically, I've always had a passion for music, but I've not had a passion for the starving artist element of being a musician, right? I wanted to support myself And then so I was, a business was always a big deal for me. My father was a businessman. My mother was was an accountant. So I was brought up around numbers. I helped my family manage a large, a medium-sized portfolio of property in North London. Some luxury properties, some other types of condos and apartments.
Yeah.
But so that was like my childhood. My father had a restaurant. I used to help him out. He had a gardening business. I watched him set that up from nothing.
So you had
in
previous
about 2
experience
weeks.
of bringing businesses to
I
life.
watched my dad do it, and it became in me.
Became your heritage.
So then the next thing, I was very quick to, watching, growing up around real estate, business, music. It was a lot of, things to learn from growing up, and I was always interested in business, So essentially, I had many businesses in music actually. So I really cut my teeth in business was in promoting dance music events actually. To be honest,
I didn't know that about you.
I was a DJ. If you want to get gigs when you're an unknown DJ, you put them on yourself. Basically. So you that's one of the strategies anyway. So, but it was also it was a hustle. It was fun. We could it was a good thing to do as a young adult. So doing that. And studying art at university, college, as you guys call it in the US, and then I came out I basically got a job at the Daily Mail, which was at the time it was the second most used online news source. I'm not sure if it still is today, but it was actually the second biggest business in the UK after the National Healthcare Service. So that was an opportunity to really kind of get in and work together with people who I could, really say, I could watch people who were very well educated, very, very successful people, who I still hold dearly and see how they operated and feel like I was in an environment around those kind of people. So in respect of that, like the education system, did me a service actually in the UK. It's not always, it doesn't always do that, especially for people that study things like art, there's too many art degree students, who are unemployed. But I was fortunate enough to not be in that statistic. And I came out and I worked for those guys for a number of years, and actually my forte was marketing. My job role was SEO specialist. I was search engine optimization is what that's an abbreviation for. So I was looking after up to about 150 news websites, working together with. I was actually at a section of the Mail, the Daily Mail General Trust, which was called it was called Local People, and it was hyper local news. So it was something that was very interesting for a while until it wasn't, and then when it became a little bit less interesting, at the same time my music career was picking up, so I started to get some releases out on some pretty big labels, so I was getting more bookings. And that felt like, hang on a minute, maybe I'm just gonna jump ship, So like, I'm sitting there daydreaming at work, and I'm listening to my songs, and I'm like, maybe I'm ready to get back, into the music thing. So I actually quit the Mail to pursue DJing as a career, producing actually, to be honest.
Risk taker,
music
bold
producer.
move. Risk taker, bold move.
It was a big
absolutely.
move. It was a big move, and but actually at the same time, I had a side business that was going on, which was also, it was to do with music festival holidays, vacations. I was doing package bundles, music festival ticket, accommodation, transfers. It was basically like kind of like property management actually. So we were looking after a set number of units, and we had a great ride there. That was also a big adventure in business that I started at the age of 24, as 2017, and carried on till my late 20s. And by our final year, we were pulling in, we were taking like over 2,000 people on their vacations, which was a highly logistical process. And anyway, so that was a great chapter. We had partnerships with MTV, Puma, all the biggest festivals.
You're rocking it out,
we
bro.
were doing a big.
You were rocking it
we
out.
were doing well. Yeah, we were doing very well. We had a great
and that's
team.
that's something that I admire about you. You're always so. The time that I've known you, you're always so creative in your mind. Your mind just works in different directions. Always creating different ideas,
Thanks, man.
strategies, and just trying to pick everything up and get everything, action plans, moving everything around,
Yeah,
so
like you have the chessboard
yeah, it's
over
just like
here,
a chessboard,
basically
man.
a bit of that, a lot of strategy.
Exactly, which is awesome. Not knowing this, because I didn't know this. When you were 24 years old, doing this for to your late 20s. And doing multiple businesses. Now it comes
sense.
together. Now it makes sense. It's like, okay, this guy is not just just doing things to do that. You're like you actually have a lot of experience behind it.
There's something going on between the years. There's some foundations I'm standing on a little bit, and I was managing a good 20-25 people at least, maybe more in fact. And
so your late 20s, you're doing this, you're pursuing music, you have business sides, you have a multiple side business going alongside of ways. You have your family's experience, your pop's experience, coming and doing this whole business, restaurants, business structures, and now towards the end of that decade of your 20s, what was the transition from between your late 20s to coming to Tulum?
Okay.
That part of
that was where Chicago came into the picture.
Okay.
So I mean, as almost all entrepreneurs will say, your biggest, learning moments and experiences come from your failures, right? And so trying to bring over, more than 2,000 people on vacation in your mid to late 20s, and having all that responsibility for people's vacations is a task, because people come to their apartment, as many property managers will probably validate, one thing wrong, especially if someone's just got off a 12-hour flight and they're going to let you hear it, right? So imagine when you got 2,000 of these people doing it. So I was basically, it was a lot of stress, it was a lot of logistics, and eventually, it didn't work out. We had the Brexit. I mean, I don't need to go into too much detail, but there was a ton of logistical reasons why things didn't quite work out for us. But it was time, I was managing a lot of people. I was under a lot of stress, and I let my DJ career kind of go slow down as the business took over. That's why I say there's always been this like kind of equilibrium of business, music, and it's like, well, is one, taking up more or less of my life? So what did I do? I went to Chicago, went full on the music again.
Okay.
I got a residency at a spot, beautiful spot in downtown Chicago, and those guys were incredible. They just took me in straight away. Out of Bayer, and all those guys, Tito and the crew, they were fantastic. They did a great job. They had a beautiful sound system in there. And on the Friday night, I'd come down and
you didn't meet Eminem over there.
Let them have
Detroit.
it, man. And it was great. It was fantastic. I met a lot of people that way. You're a DJ is a very social job, and it gave me a chance to go back to something that I truly love. And did that. Met my wife out there. Had a blast. I mean, anyone who hasn't been to Chicago, or anyone who has, knows how great it is. Anyone who hasn't, I recommend it. It's just a fantastic place. The food, the people, it's fantastic. Midwest in general, I think the people are great. Anyway, so that was my stopgap, and then from there, was coming back to where I talked about with how I came to Tulum to where I was before. I was telling you I was in the Paradise Beach Club down there. And I met a lot of people down there, who were very successful, Mexican people, or people from all walks of life who've been living here. And, people here, they really, they like to give each other, were liking to give me a leg up, and I think it was nice. It wasn't that walking on each other to get to the top. It's like, oh, how can I help my friend to
There's
get
like this
somewhere?
vibe here, and I feel like in Tulum, it's like we're always trying to build each other up in a way.
Right?
It's a beautiful community.
It's cool, you know, because it's like, well, we're not in a nepotistic, you know, developed city where we're just kind of like at the mercy of the politicians and, you know, all the bureaucracy that surrounds them, you know, and the state, etc. But, you know, you're in a fresh environment. Obviously, there is that component, but it's not that profound here. So, you know, there's low barriers to entry. You can get into really cool, you know, businesses very fast, very easily. And I loved that. I breathed that. Everyone here was just doing such cool stuff. You know, I was hanging out with people who, you know, for example, you know, a friend Fur, you know, he was like not even 30. He had 25 pizza restaurants in Mexico City.
Oh, incredible.
You know, I'm just like, this dude, some people are really kicking ass over here. You know, and I was like, this is
wearing sandals and shorts.
Wearing sandals and playing volleyball every day. You know, like this is where it's at. You know, whereas I've been hustling over in London, struggling to pay my taxes because I've got so many staff and I've got to, you know, file so much paperwork, and then you come out here and it's a breath of fresh air. You know, so
incredible.
You know, there was you know, there was that. You know, it was an extreme like polarized. You know, okay, now I'm going from taking, you know, thousands of people on vacation to then come out here and I'm seeing, well, what's the play? You know, how am I gonna? What? You know, what's cool over here that makes money? You know, had a few conversations, met some good contacts. You know, I've always loved networking. You know, music and networking goes very well hand in hand. So, you know, at parties, I actually met many of my now partners. You know, and various other situations like that. And you know. So it was very fertile here, and I could tell that. And I came out, and so I shortly, you know, after arriving here, met my partner Agustin, who's still now to this day my partner. We started Tulum Land and Property together. That was a very cool experience where I was able to apply my marketing skills that I'd learned at the newspaper, with all those websites, at my own.
Bringing that experience of all the other experiences.
Because at the end of the day, you're just selling a product.
Exactly.
Whether that product is a house, whether that product is a watch or a pen, or that product is a vacation, or whether it's you.
Yourself, right?
Exactly.
It's all of it is already inside of you.
Exactly.
And you're just bringing all that experience into what Tulum Land and Property is forming now.
Correct.
Right, and it's sort of setting up the foundation.
Exactly.
Right, and it's been operating for what, 6 years?
It's been going for 6 years.
6 years.
Correct. You know, and I mean, basically you know, the market was clearly fertile, as I was saying, in respect of real estate, not just business. So before I was talking about business, but the real estate market was very busy when I first arrived here. You know, it was 2000, what was it now? 2019, yeah, I think I was here. 2020 actually, COVID year, right? So so I came here and yeah, basically, like you know, many people who were here at that time know that, you know, there was queues around the corner at a lot of the brokerages, you know. So, you know, it was quite a lot to see that, you know, and to see, wow, there's a lot of demand for property here. There's a lot of developers, you know. It's like, how do I take this property and become the intermediary between that person who wants to buy that and make that acquisition happen, and then also how can I learn from that and streamline that process, you know. And that was the really entry point, and how we came in, and we noticed that there was a lot of things that we could bring and that would add value to the customer journey, you know, like such as, you know, just bringing a higher level of, you know, professionalism to the party, you know, so to speak. You know, like we were like, you know, making sure that, you know, everything was done in a timely manner. There was no delays, you know, because we were seeing that's a lot of that stuff was happening. There was also like a lot of like what I would call like smash and grab mentality, you know, like i.e. find someone who wants to buy a property. You find a property they want, you match them together, you take your commission, and then you just say bye-bye. You know, where we wanted to really just make sure that we wanted to build a future for ourselves. We wanted to really kind of bring value to this market. So we tried our best to really give the clients like a smooth journey, tried to take the anxiety out of buying. And most of our clients were foreign investors, you know. As I am also a foreign investor, I also own assets here in Tulum as well. And, you know, I had that experience of acquiring fideicomiso, all of that stuff. You know, I got burnt on a few things, more than a few.
Yeah.
So, you know, I was able to use these different experiences that were positive and negative to help guide the clients to a more positive experience where they weren't left hanging 3 days for a reply. They were given a good experience. And that was important to me. And we were also held it, you know, close to our hearts that we were going to give good quality properties. We weren't just going to sell someone because they said they wanted to buy it. We would advise them to what they should buy. And if they didn't end up buying with us, that's a shame because we lose the money, but at least further down the line, we're not going to, you know, we're not going to have problems like that, you know. So, you know, we really tried our best to just, when we continually do, just continual improvement. Like, how can we streamline this journey, make it smoother and smoother? Now, aside from that, and, you know, I'm going to start segueing into the future if you like.
I think, I mean, just to wrap up the present, the present moment, you know, it's like, I think that one of the things that I was intrigued to work, you know, with you, directly with you, Michael Gill and Tulum Land and Property, was that it feels like you guys always had the edge on the properties, exclusivity, and in different projects that were very, nobody really knew about it, right? And I know that you're definitely working on something right now that's super exciting and amazing. You guys are doing this incredible film that you're telling me about, you know, with incredible budget. You know, I'll let you talk about all that, but
exhausting as well.
But just currently now wrapping up the present moment of Tulum Land and Property. You know, from what led you from all your experiences to what you have, where you have the company now. The present. How do you feel it? I know you went through an incredible journey just a few days ago that made you more present.
Right.
So let's wrap it up maybe with that experience, the present moment.
Okay.
You know, and then we talk a little bit about the future was coming up.
Well,
you know?
No, I think
so.
I think it'd be a shame for me
that.
not to talk about. So Felix, you know, obviously referring to the Vipassana that I just did recently. So that was a definitely something that was
give us some insights. Give us some insights.
I guess I think it's important to say what is a Vipassana, right? It's a 10-day silent meditation retreat with Buddhist principles, but it's not religious, right? So it's essentially using the teachings of Buddha, how he reached enlightenment, but not in a dogmatic religious respect. So you can be any religion and still partake. And, you know, if you decide that, you know, you feel still that you want to pursue your religious faith afterwards, by all means, there's always discussions and interesting debates. But anyway, so it's not I wanted to highlight, it's not necessarily a religious thing, but it is connected with religion and the scriptures, right? So particularly Eastern Buddhism scriptures, right? And, but it was SN Goenka actually wrote this specific course, and it's a charity actually. So they have hundreds of them all over the world.
Amazing.
Yeah, and it's donation based. And I went, and my friend was working there. He recommended it to me. My wife Ines, she was very you know, kind of got behind me in doing it. You know. Created the space for me to do that, you know, with 2 kids, you know, so I left and went and just came back from that a few days ago, like a week ago. And what happened on that course will stay with me for the rest of my life, you know. Amazing. And I will probably do more. I was meditating for about 10 hours a day for wasn't able to complete the full course. I had a slight issue with my ears. I had some tinnitus, but I went for 7 days, doing 10 hours meditation each day. You know, it really showed you how you can control your wandering mind, which is something some people need. you know, a lot of the time, depending on, you know, where you have a lot of these kind of like acronyms, you know, people have ADHD, OCD, all these ones, you know, now, you know, I feel like a lot of them can be aided, not necessarily cured, but definitely aided with meditation, you know. I've been, since I got back, I have been doing meditation daily, and I plan to continue that now, and it's
anything that you struggle with in prior to this, like ADHD or anything that you want to share?
Well,
that's something
I mean,
that you struggle with.
I was smoking cigarettes for 23 years. I stopped smoking off the back of that. I mean, that was something that, you know, I guess so that is an addiction, right? So why we form addictions is often to do with anxieties. It's often, you know, a crutch, you know, things like that. So, you know, I was able to stop that. I was struggling with there are a lot of things. In fact, I was really struggling in life, personally and in business. I'd taken on so much, and a good friend and mentor of mine, Omar, said to me, you know, once, and he was referring to his Somali Muslim faith, and said that, you know, well, this may or may not have been from that particular religion, but anyway, he said that if you want to speed up in business or in life, try to slow down first, right? And it's like a bit of a paradox, that statement, and something that it sounded very romantic, but in practice it's like, well, okay, yeah, that's great. How do I find time to slow down, because I'm so late on all these deadlines and stuff? And it's like, you know what, life will go on. Just take a pause, you know? Take a pause. If people are not waiting for you when you get back, don't worry, you'll find other people.
Exactly.
You know? And that was kind of the, you know, that was it. So, you know, sometimes you just got to hold your breath and go for it, in the, pardon the pun, you know? But, you know, you got to kind of just, you know, go and do it, you know? And and I came out with just a ton of ideas in my head. I'd solve, because what I was finding was, as I was doing more and more meditating, I was moving higher and higher up from the ground. What's the word? Kind of as an analogy, right? Where I would be able to see my whole complete life, rather than just what's right in front of me there. I could see everything on a macro scale, right? So I could see, you know, what are my issues? What are my problems? How do I solve that? What are my key issues? What are my causes of my suffering? You know, it may be bad relationships, toxic relationships that need to be cut, or resolved, or the toxicity is being caused by something that needs to be, you know, amended, you know. So those were the kind of things that I was looking at. How am I going to imbue this new knowledge into my day-to-day life? Will I be able to succeed? You know, so far so good, you know. I mean, I know I'm only back just over a week, but yeah, I mean, I think that I will say, and I'm glad that I have this opportunity to hopefully say this to a few people. Hopefully maybe people will go and do it, and I think that if you're suffering from depression, if you feel like you're lost in life, if you feel like you have too much going on, which a lot of people have nowadays, there's so much going on in the world, there's so much pressure on us to do well, to perform, you know, that can get too much. It can become overwhelming, you know. So you get out and go and just sit on a mountain and breathe.
Amazing. I love it.
Just go do it, you know.
I love it. I love it, because I do see the difference, you know, in you know, and I feel like from the things that we just discussed, you know, from you growing up, your past with your parents and businesses and the business venture that you did, you know, from that decade of your 20s, and then coming along, you having this experience with Tulum Land and Property for the last, you know, 5-6 years here, and then having this reset, you know, and this foundation, because you have an amazing foundation right now, I feel. You have a foundation of a lot of experience and business experience. You came down and reconnected with yourself in a more spiritual, self-centered, like chill, right? With a lot of things that you just said, that you have your mind racing, a lot of things coming and going, and you're like, okay, let me see this from a higher self. Let me see through all the things that I have. And maybe it is that what you just said, inviting yourself to slow down and let things come naturally, the things that are evolving, which is the future, the things that are coming now, where are exciting.
That's it. Lining yourself up.
Lining yourself up to what it is.
In fact, funnily enough, actually, Felix, that you say that, like, it's kind of almost very coincidental anyway, that the whole point is presence.
Presence.
It's about being in the present. That's it. Not being in the future, not being in the past. So it couldn't be more pertinent to this discussion, actually.
Yeah.
It's pure presence, being in the present, thinking about nothing except for your breath.
Yes.
Right? That's all there is the only thing that's important in the present is that you are staying alive, or that any sensations that you're feeling, and this might start sounding a little crazy, but this is the kind of things that we will talk about on this thing, any sensations you feel in your body, that is what's happening in the present, you know? So it's you, and it's in your mind, what's going on in your mind, what's going on in your body, and that's it.
That's it.
That's the present.
That's it.
Right?
Yeah. I love it. I love it. I love it.
Anything before or after that ain't the present.
It doesn't exist. It doesn't exist. The past creates us like troubles, like anxiety and stuff. No, the future creates anxiety. The past creates us like, we should, guilt or whatever it is, right?
Nostalgia.
Whatever, some negative feelings, But the present moment is like,
the present moment is just
it's right now.
It's just your
like
breath.
we're good. We're breathing. What you just said. We're breathing, feeling the sensation.
That's all you got to do.
And just absorbing it in, and that's how we create. I mean, we can only think about tomorrow. We can't really think too ahead.
Exactly. And when you have your concentration on pure presence, then when you step back from that presence and you go back, then your past and your future become a little bit more like clear on how one relates to the other, and how the future, how you can learn from the past. You get paid for the work you do. There's no wages here particularly. That you're here to do business. You're if you're a broker, you're basically an independent business person. If you are in all walks of life, whatever you do, you may as well. If you don't give it 110%, then you're gonna look back, and if you didn't quite get what you wanted, you say, well, why the hell didn't I? So anyway, so I have always tried that to be part of my thing, is just to try to deliver an excellence on what I try to do. And I try to do, and I'm also a perfectionist. So I guess both those things go hand in hand.
Yeah.
So continuing on to what is coming up, right? So I mean, based on what I was saying there, we were lucky enough to get in some inside, being given the opportunity to basically to manage the sales and marketing of a certain amount of land area, which is inside Pino Suarez, which is a separate municipality from Tulum, but it's also, pretty much, it's engulfed by Tulum, also Sian Can, right? So it is literally right in front of the beach, but right now it's very underdeveloped. It's also a beautiful environmental place where you'll see incredible nature. You will see mangroves, you will see incredible, beautiful, trees and all sorts of things, animals, wildlife, birds. It's just incredible, right? So good friend, business partner of mine, who's an environmentalist, invited us to be part of this, community, Soy Tulum, which is the brand name for Pino Suarez. Area of Tulum, and inside there were several projects, and we were given a responsibility of master brokering those projects. What ended up happening was we really had a successful venture down there. We were having a lot of sales. It was a very successful investment for a lot of our investors. And now the area is developing, and there's so much coming, which is going to be coming out soon. I've got to be careful in what I can say about which brands are moving in, but I will say that they are some of the top tier hospitality brands in the world are all coming to Tulum.
But these ones are already set to come.
Exactly, and they are all actually going to be our neighbors. In fact, so we did have a certain amount of luck, definitely in that respect. But But what we liked about that area is also, I guess, what they liked, right? Which is essentially that it's single family homes mainly, predominant, like pretty much 90. So it is actually just exclusively single family homes, right? Even the hotels are just cabanas, right? So you don't have any multi-family situations going on over there. You know, the density is low. You can have like you can have 12 homes per 1 hectare, which is about 2 acres, 2.2 acres, right?
Very exclusive.
Yeah. So you're not going to see a ton of trash everywhere. They've done an amazing job to just, you know, they really care about the community. Like they really do. The roads are 11 layers of rock and debris, right? Which are basically created in such a way that the water can permeate underneath the road and will not affect the manglar or the mangroves, as you say in the West, right? And that keeps the place alive. It keeps the beaches healthy. It keeps Tulum healthy. It keeps the wildlife healthy. You know, and you've seen a lot of other areas of the Riviera Maya where they have decimated the mangroves, unfortunately, and here we are keeping them healthy and alive, and I'm really feel fortunate to be part of that. I have also brought in some other developers from Montreal. They're doing a huge anti-aging and healing center over there,
which is an incredible project.
Absolutely outstanding. There's going to be a school there. You know, it's all like very close to the airport. It's very close to the beach. It's what Tulum's been waiting for, really, in these kind of projects. You know, you have also single family lots like close to the lagoon. You don't have to worry about Nopalitos, which is inside the area. One of the most stunning projects ever, like what is going on over there. So that's where a lot of the brands are going to be based in Tulum now. So, you know, we're about to see a new era in Tulum.
Exactly. That's what I want to get to.
And that's it, you know, and maybe some people know what's coming, maybe some people don't, but sure enough, soon everyone will know what's happening, and it's going to be
I feel like Tulum Land Property, it's part of the, like the ones that are,
we're riding the wave.
You're not riding the wave. You're like in the front of the wave. You know what I mean? So you're
appreciate that.
You're there, right?
We're trying to do our part, you know, and you know, there's a lot of people contributing to this incredible future that we have coming for us here, and we're proud to be part of that. You know, I love to connect people. So what I've been doing is connecting people together within this large community, which is around 400 hectares of land. It's about the size of Tulum again, but close to the beach, low density, all that, private entrances, just outstanding place that we're gonna
have top tier brands of hotels. We have an exclusive community, gated community, because it's gated. It's very exclusive. You can't just drive right now there, and you know, you have to have like very good permissions, or you know, for you to go in there.
Own land in there.
Right?
Yeah. Or be friends with someone who does.
Or be friends, right? And we're talking about homes that are going to be, what is it, 6,000 square feet all the way to 8,000 square feet, more or less?
So there are going to be some huge, beautiful homes which are going to be built in there, but also sustainably built, low density, and in feet they range from around 4,000, no, even less actually, to 3,000 square feet. We have a 3-bedroom masonette. That we're launching, which I
square feet? No, 2,000 square feet.
250 square meters. 3,000 square feet is the smallest, and it goes up to 11,000 square feet. Right. So you know, there's a big range.
I was in the middle. Where
you were in the middle range. We're
talking about mansions. More or less instead of the works mansions.
We have very large homes. We're very large homes down by the beach, single family, lots of space between you and your neighbors. You know, you have a clubhouse, you have a lobby, you know, you have a gymnasium in the clubhouse, you have a restaurant in the clubhouse, 24-hour room service, concierge, you know, all of that good stuff. So you know, you get the 5-star treatment. We have some fantastic contributors to the project. You know, thanks to all the investors who invested with us. You know, helped us to realize this. You know, as well as our investors in Switzerland, and who've been massively helpful with their contribution, and also not just the money, but with all of their support they've given us, and all of our support that we've received from not just brokers, but DLT, our partners as well, the DLT Capital. These guys have been amazing, and so it's been a wild ride. It's taken nearly 2 years. Our architects, our builders, Roberto Carli, Geraldo, we're building homes with them right now. They've been building here for 25 years. Just exceptional builders, and just give us that peace of mind, that we can trust them. They do a great job, and they're such great people,
Incredible.
We together, when paired, the hospitality with the quality of the construction, with the quality, with the beautiful natural surroundings, with the proximity to the beach, with the proximity to the airport, Nopalitos Lagoon. You really do start to see, hang on, there is something really fantastic, and we have been really inundated with brokerages from North America asking for allocations. Which is fairly unprecedented, I think, for a Tulum project. So what I really wanted to do was kind of try to excel and compare ourselves to projects in the Caribbean, established brands, not just comparing ourselves to who's here in Tulum now doing well, but who's doing well as in any of these places where people buy second homes, So by that, we'd be able to allow us to hopefully stand out as we want to do. I think that there has definitely been a big gap in the market for someone to come and build big homes, which are beautiful, which have been well designed, which have had love put into them, and feel like a house that you can own and pass down to your children.
Incredible.
And share with your family and friends, which will also cash flow if you want to treat it like a business as well. Some people do also want that still. You can't ignore these guys, and we're here to help with whatever it is that is your motivation for buying a house here, a second home, something that you may want to move into or retire in. But we are here to help support you. Our prices are super competitive, and we're delivering.
And we're on the first stages as well, which is amazing. We started 2 villas already. Three,
so we have 2 villas. We have 2 villas going up right now.
Out of 50 lots, I believe.
Yeah,
right?
and there's 50 lots in there. So
they have already been sold, and now it's like the investors are starting to build.
And we also have a lot of investors who've come in. To be honest, like the biggest brand names you'll hear, that people who visit Tulum regularly will know. I don't really want to say who they are, but they are invested in our project. And they have their finger on the trigger, ready to build a villa. They just were kind of keeping an eye on how we get on. So it's going to be,
which we're going to be sharing later. This is part of the future conversation. We're going to be. I'm going to be sharing, through Felix Cisneros, my personal brand. I'm going to be sharing a little bit more about what's happening, what's being developed. But I also know that you also have already 6 or 7 models of villas pre-designed.
Correct.
But we're also working with an investor that's that we're going through a whole process of helping them pre-design. You and I are working with this client currently now, and going through this process. You could either choose out of the models that's already pre-designed, or you could also create your own. Customize your own villa.
Exactly. So I'll say, at this juncture, as we wait for the launch, there's so much planning that goes into the marketing and stuff like that. But there are people who are knocking on the door saying, "Hey, I want to build a home now." So with the extra time that we have as as we are holding off on the launch. So we've been designing some homes and building some homes for people who've been we don't want to make people have to wait, right?
Exactly.
So and with the extra time, we're letting people have some fun. We're doing some bespoke designs. That's something that I enjoy doing, and I know I enjoy working with you on that as well. So it's something that it's a passion of mine to create someone their dream house, here in the beautiful environment of the Riviera Maya with Sian Can on your doorstep, you know, and to have like a statement home here, you know, that references some of the beautiful architecture around the world that, you know, we take inspiration from to create the brand that we have. You know, I'm obsessed with luxury colonial, haciendas. You know, we have a couple of those, you know, in there, but mixed together with brutalist, modern, minimal villas as well. So, you know, but we really are trying to deliver exceptional standards, and we're coming through fantastically with thanks to our amazing construction team. PGA, which is owned by Roberto Cali, and also Mario Gonzalez and Max as well. So thanks to those guys, you know, for helping us, you know, once again. But yeah, so essentially coming back to the project, you know, keep an eye. If you guys want to know anything about this project, this is your man. You know, Felix has all the inside scoops. So, you know, or if you want to set up a meeting with Felix or myself, you know, we're here to help you anytime you want. And if you get in there now, you know, I'm just going to give a quick shameless plug here. Why not? You know, if you get in there now, the prices are exceptional.
Incredible.
We've got friends and family early bird pricing right now. So we are delivering
before the launch,
pre-launch pricing.
Launch is October.
Launch is is mid-September.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's coming up in 3 weeks.
3 weeks. Okay, good.
So just
you guys are doing
October.
like this incredible video.
Yeah. So we're filming. We're filming a video next week in a nice hacienda down by the beach, and we're very excited in that. We have a 20-person team, you know, production, hair and makeup, stylist assistant. Oh my goodness, the list goes on and on. Like, so it's going to be
fun. Should be fun.
It's going to be good fun. We've got caterers coming in.
Incredible.
You know, it's going to be an exceptional. We have, you know, as an artist myself, you know, I really tried to put together a team of exceptional artists to help us execute, you know, the vision that we have, you know, which isn't just the villas, but also the branding, thanks to Dahlia and Sophia, you know, and everyone, you know, all of the team are just crushing it. You know, my aunt Sue who came in, and she was a global director at Saatchi & Saatchi, and she gave a lot of amazing input and helped us a lot with the with the branding, which, you know, I'm super pleased with how it came out. Was not a small task. But now we're there. We're at the you know, we're at the finish line now, and we're just excited to get this video recorded, and then that's going to go to post-production, and then we'll have that video out, and all of the footage, which is going to be taken by some of the best videographers and photographers. I mean, the pool of talent here in Tulum is just crazy. Incredible. You know, and Paul, you know, who's our head photographer, like he's only 30 years old, and he's been photographing for the front cover of GQ and Vogue. Amazing. You know, what a 30-year-old lad, you know, it's just like so admirable, you know.
Incredible.
So you know, so this team we have here, you know, everyone's enthusiastic, everyone's young, everyone's in it to win it, you know. And then we have brokers such as yourself, Felix, or like, you know, entrepreneurs such as yourself who are just, you know, coming in and bringing the energy, you know, on the sales side. So, you know, I could go on and on, but I'll just say, you know, now we're talking about the present, you know, Latopia. You know, you guys will be hearing about it aplenty.
Let's make it happen.
It's going to be a dream come true for many people. Yeah. So, you know,
Michael, I really appreciate, you know, you taking the time to this interview, and I have to say that, as you were mentioning all your team, you know, I really appreciate you giving credit to the people, because, you know, it always feels that, you know, it's not you by yourself, right? You have a whole team around it, and you giving credit to everybody around. That says a lot about you, right? And that's freaking awesome, man. So
appreciate that, man.
Props to that, brother. You know, one last thing before we close this thing off.
Yeah.
You know, what will you tell yourself, your younger self?
Okay.
You know, through all these business ventures that you've gone through and everything, what is that one phrase or that advice that you give yourself, younger self, and say, hey, you know? What is that?
Yeah, so you know, what I would say, you know, is just to keep at it, you know, like no matter what anyone tries to tell you about how low chances of doing things might be, you know, if you have that dream, you know, don't listen to other people, just listen to you. And just go at it, you know, because it doesn't matter how slim the chances are, you know, if you don't make it, you've still succeeded because you've learned and you've tried, you know, so don't let people's, you know, kind of negativity affect you. Just keep going and, you know, and also, yeah, you know, just, you know, I mean, enjoy your life, you know, while you're young. Don't feel like you've got to work too hard too soon, you know. The time will come, but also, you know, just follow your dreams, you know. It's a cliche, and you know, and buy Bitcoin in 2015 before it pumps.
So buy Bitcoin, follow your dreams, and let's make it happen. All right, man. Appreciate you, brother. You know,
brother.
let's wrap it up.
All right,
Give me a
good
hug,
stuff,
bro.
man. All right, brother. All right, brother. Good stuff, man. All right, all right, brother.